You scroll through Facebook and it's like every single post you're reading, it's like, did this person really write this? Probably not.
If you're literally just blindly copying and pasting stuff, you're not really building a relationship with anybody.
You have to become really, really good at something.
Like, we can obviously see that something's AI, written by AI, videos AI.
You should know, you should feel instinctively that there's something wrong.
What do you think people should do today to be more human in business to build those relationships?
If you're having to tell ChatGPT, be more human, there's like something really horribly wrong there.
What up, everybody? Grant Wise here. Welcome back to the Partner Profit Podcast. Excited for my guest today. Pumped to have an epic conversation about how do we turn our relationships into revenue. We've got Mr. Nelson Quest. What up, Nelson? Thanks for being here with me today, man.
Hey, Grant. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Of course. For people that are listening to this and maybe don't know much about you, just give us a bit of the backstory. How'd you get to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the founder and CEO of AgentFire. Started the company in 2012, although I think publicly we say 2013. But essentially it was just me when we first started out. I actually had two partners. Things didn't work out. I was a typical like entrepreneur story. Moved back into my parents' house, was working off of a mattress on the ground literally for a bunch of years. Didn't hire our first employee till around 2015. And then, yeah, maybe fast forward a little bit. And today we're at, we have thousands of clients. We have about 80 employees. Yeah, we're doing pretty well.
That's awesome, man. So when I say, Nelson, like, how do I turn my relationships into revenue? Where does your mind go?
My mind first goes to just authenticity in the sense of, I think there's a way to approach business where you're just you can kind of inauthentically be looking for relationships to move forward. And there's a way where you can like authentically want to enter into partnerships that are helpful, authentically like want to help people. And I think honestly, these last couple of years, I've been working a lot with the Cheplack crew, specifically Alec Cheplack, so John's son. And Cheplack was someone that I always kind of watched from a distance, but then when you kind of get close, I know you mentioned you did 5 years of coaching with him. You know, he's obviously insanely wealthy and insanely successful, but he does like authentically care about people. And so there's a way, especially in this world now where it seems like, yeah, just people kind of are obsessed about money and maybe don't really want to help people, or maybe they kind of falsely project that they want to help people that don't. But I think if you actually do authentically want to help people, you can actually grow a lot bigger and a lot faster and do a lot cooler things than if you're kind of inauthentically focused on those sort of relationships. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, I think it makes a ton of sense. It's been a central theme in a lot of the conversations I've had on this podcast. I think I'm like 40 or 45 interviews deep now. And it's like giving without expectation is been an absolute central theme in a lot of the conversations. And what's interesting about that is a lot of the people that I talk to that just focus on giving and contribution without anything and without expecting anything in return are some of the most successful people I know. And they just have a genuine passion and a desire to help other people. And I think we were also having a fascinating conversation before we got started about just like the rise of AI and the authenticity that doesn't really seem to exist online. So many people are automating themselves out of relationship with their customers, with their audience, because they're trying to be more efficient or they're trying to do all these other things.
Yeah, just automating themselves, like period. Like we're you and I were talking about how you scroll through Facebook and it's like every single post you're reading, it's like, did this person really write this? Probably not. They're at the very least, they were assisted by AI. In some cases, they're literally just copying. They're just writing something into ChatGPT and like they're copying and pasting like inspirational stories with a photo. It's just, yeah, it's totally inauthentic. And I don't mean to, insult anyone or I'm not looking to, I hope this doesn't come across as just attacking, but it's just, it's sad when you go through, it's kind of like where, reality TV, where it's like the farthest thing from reality. Social media has just kind of become the furthest thing from social. Yeah, it's weird and I don't know, but it creates opportunities like you and I were talking about to actually like be yourself and be authentic despite this sort of overwhelming tide of inauthenticity that's happening.
Yeah. What do you think people can do, even just socially to change that? And I think like you have an entire suite of industries that are running towards automation and AI and people that are literally, like you just said, copying what AI puts out there and just pasting it online and trying to pass it off as value. And it's like, I know you're trying to be respectful. I'm maybe not trying to be so respectful. Like, you need to be a human being in order to build a relationship with another human being. I think you can use AI to do that, but if you're literally just blindly copying and pasting stuff, you're not really building a relationship with anybody.
That's a really good question. And so, well, I'll tell you kind of a little bit where I'm at in life. So I'm 41 years old. I just had kids 16 months ago. So they're, you know, they're twins. And so like a big part of my life right now has been characterized for a long time. I was very, like when I was single, I was very focused on myself. And I think the world, almost like obsessed with myself, like not that I was obsessed with myself and that I wasn't like passing by mirrors and blowing kisses to myself and stuff like that. But, you know, where it's like, I wasn't thinking about how I could serve. Like I was kind of the center of my own universe. And I think that's a negative consequence of the current like social media environment where people sort of become self-obsessed. They kind of exist in their own heads. They're actually not getting out and having enough conversations with people, and that actually reduces empathy, even if they're like showing empathy on social media and what have you. It just like it's just not healthy to not have conversations with people and not like care about people. And so, and I'm not a religious person. I would maybe like to be, but I am trying to kneel more in the sense that when I am focused entirely on just myself and how can I get my business ahead? How can I grow as a person? And I'm not thinking about the things around me. And I find that like to be like poisonous to my soul. And especially as I get older, where I'm going to, you know, die and disappear. To bring it back and to just put this into simple terms, I'm finding that my place in this world where I am just feeling a lot better about myself and feeling that I'm a better human is where I really try to just like kneel before things that are greater to me than me. So I would say that my family is, you know, first and foremost, just I would like to exist less for myself and more for them. And then even just in business, when you like really want to do a good job for your clients, when you really want your clients to be happy, it's actually even the best way to, like, if you could actually authentically do that and achieve that, it's the best way to grow as a company, especially now where we're in an age where if people feel like you've done that for them, like you've changed their life, like not just delivered a service that was really good, but like fundamentally like changed or improved their life, man, they're gonna, you know, scream your name from the rooftops. They're gonna want to collaborate with you and webinars and stuff like that, and they're gonna want to help you grow your business. And so it's kind of like the last thing I'll say here is you can, and this actually I think is a really good metaphor for what we're talking about. You can hold the door open and expect for and expect the person to say thank you and then get angry if they don't. Or you can just hold the door open because you're someone that holds the door open.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like a really good thing to aspire to just be
100%.
the sort of person that you hold the door, you do good things, not because you're expecting for people to do good things back for you, but just because you do good things. And it's really easy to do that when you have kids and you want your kids to do good things. And so, yeah. Like I find it's really easy for me, like much easier for me now to like eat healthy because I want my kids to eat healthy, because I want my kids to train. It's a lot easier, I'm finding, to do a lot of the things that maybe were a little bit harder to do when I was more self-obsessed.
It's very interesting because what I've noticed is you have what seems like an entire society or a significant part of society that is really only interested in themselves. And it's to a point where it's like, well, I want to do what makes me happy, which is, in my opinion, a crappy way to live your life. Like people that I think do things like because they make me like happy is a fleeting thing. You know, I tend to pursue joy over happiness, and what gives me joy and what makes me happy are typically two different things. And then I think what's really interesting is we kind of live in a society that's like forgotten how to talk to people. You're kind of at a place now where people, it's like, well, if I don't like that, I'm just not going to talk to you. It's like, yeah, but like that's kind of the point. Like we're not supposed to agree with each other on every single thing that there is. We're supposed to talk to each other. We're supposed to debate, and we're supposed to have conversations, and we're supposed to have intellectual arguments about, you know, what is going on in the world. And it seems like, you know, a big chunk of society is finding out that this idea that I've got to do everything that makes me happy is actually incredibly lonely, because you end up on an island with nobody but yourself. And I think it is a fascinating conversation to have when you talk about the relationship development, because your inability to authentically create connections with other people, especially in business, like, you know, it's going to cause major problems. And I don't actually know that I know a ton of business people that aren't like super open to building relationships with other people, because it's kind of like a requirement. But I definitely see it, you know, outside of business, where people are so just self-absorbed, they don't want to really do anything else besides, you know, what's good for me. And some of the happiest people I know, funny enough, are the people that spend their lives helping other people.
Everything in my conscious existence pushes me to want to just be selfish and focus on me. And so it's almost like a leap of faith to know that my place is kneeling before things that are greater than me, and then to just kind of act on that, just trusting that that's the correct path, even though everything in my conscious environment tells me otherwise, if that makes sense, or at least just tries to shape me in a different way. But I'll just say that I think with the proliferation of social media and technology and just the way that human beings are less and less social, you're seeing it's almost like this sort of it's like an organism. So like everything is becoming political now, right? It's not that there's a puppet master, or it's not that there's like a group of people. People like to think that maybe there's like a group of people that are kind of controlling and guiding the world towards a specific outcome. But I think this is just sort of almost like an organic, just natural evolution of capitalism, right? To where like the news in general is boring. So and news is on TV, and TV, to be on TV, you have to make money. And so the news needs to find ways to get people to pay attention. And the only way, the best ways to do that are to sensationalize and to play on, tribal biological instincts and sort of drive people against each other. And so, but it's not like you have any one or group of people that are like consciously trying to do this. It's just kind of just the natural evolution of things, is where technology in the pursuit of money will hijack human like biological instincts and use them for the purpose of generating more money and profit.
No, this is actually a very interesting conversation, because like the question that's coming up for me is like, you and I are both technology, like we're on tech companies, we're super into technology. You're doing a lot of really cool stuff with AI, but I think it is interesting that we're kind of saying, hey, you shouldn't do that. like to build relationships, to be social. So I guess, an interesting question I have is like, what do you think that people should do, especially people in business or trying to develop relationships? What do you think that they should do to be more human? Not just like to be more human, but to appear more human, socially, to grow business. Because we can see this stuff now. Like we can obviously see that something's AI, written by AI, videos AI, but you have so many people that are like barreling towards this. What do you think people should do today to be more human in business to build those relationships?
So my answer to that would be something that I think most people, frankly, would be able to execute on, because it's essentially like step one is kind of to find yourself, right? And I think to find yourself is actually extremely difficult process. Like you are most yourself when you're like first born and entering that like phase of curiosity, to where you're exploring the world. You kind of exist as this like curious essence, but then slowly society starts like putting its tentacles onto you, and so like you'll, as a kid, you can like dance freely, right? And then second your parent sees that and says, oh, that's cute, like, and then like a couple hours later you're in front of people and they're like, hey, Grant, why don't you dance again, do the dance you were doing earlier. And now it's not like this organic expression of who you are. It's like this thing that society is kind of just like forcing out of you. And like, so, but then now fast forward many years, you're 30, 40 years old, and you have just these like layers and layers and layers of sort of just like false identity that have kind of made it very difficult to really understand who you are as a person. This is a big part of and like to kind of explain that, what I'll say is I think everyone has kind of a unique essence. And I think that essence is shown most when people are lost in activities where they're not thinking. So like for me, I've done a lot of salsa dancing. And like a big part of the reason that I pursued wanting to learn salsa is because when you see dancers that are, you go out to like a dance club, right? And you see like two high level dancers that are dancing together. They're not, nothing is choreographed at all. And it's like, usually it's the male that guides and the female that receives. And so, and the male can just like gently touch the waist or gently do something. And like, if the energies are correct, and if they're at a really high level, they're not thinking at all. And they're just moving so beautifully, together. It's like a conversation, but it's just like free. And like, you see the essence, and like, I'll dance with girls, and like some of them will have like a fire essence where they're kind of like unpredictable, and some of them will have like an earth essence where you actually have to kind of like move them and guide them. Some of them are, so like they each have their own kind of unique essence, and I don't think And that's where like I think you get really you can say this in fighting too, right? At the highest level, fighters will have everyone will have like a very unique style. You know, like Conor McGregor when he was like peak Conor McGregor, just had like a unique style that nobody else had, and now he's kind of had like layers of things that have kind of repressed his essence, like who he really is as a
Mhm.
fighter. But you can see this in fighting. Again, you can see this anywhere. You can even see this in business where people are just sort of flowing, where they're not thinking, where their moves aren't like calculated, where they're not necessarily like reading off of a script. Not that reading off a script is bad if you wrote it yourself, but you know what I mean. And so yeah, I mean, step one is kind of like, how do you just find that essence? How do you find who you are as a person? And my belief is that you have to become really, really good at something. Bruce Lee had a great way of describing the process of learning, which is essentially stage one is you have a teacher, right? And you try to just copy them as much as possible, right? They show you a punch and you're just copying that. You're trying to get to where you're like one to one throwing that same punch. And then you go through the repetitions of that thing. But the highest level of throwing that punch is to where you're not thinking anymore. You're throwing it and you're actually able to infuse your own essence into it. So maybe you're like moving a little bit different, or maybe, but now it's like like, so like someone has taught you the fundamentals, but now you're like expressing yourself in free form. I would say the same is applicable for business, right? Like in business, everyone starts out, if you're in real estate, maybe you're reading, there's a bunch of really good real estate books. There's a bunch of really good coaches out there. I mentioned John Cheplack a second ago, Alex Cheplack. But you start with a coach, right? They're kind of teach you these are the things you should be doing on a day-to-day basis. You do the things, but eventually you get to the point though where you don't need a coach, where you're able to just kind of and maybe you continue to work with a coach wherever, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like if you're just starting out a business, you have to copy foundations. Like you have to learn the foundations, right? This is true in anything, and it's true in dance, it's true in boxing. Like there's certain like foundational movements that you need to learn. The highest level is characterized by where you're able to express yourself, and so this is where people need to try to get to. I fear that in the current environment, though, people aren't able to. They're just not able to find themselves, or not able to get to that point. That most people don't.
Or are afraid to.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's a good way to.
Like people are afraid to be themselves. Like I'm afraid to be myself, put myself out there because the internet is mean. like, like it's like, people are not nice, and the internet's made people meaner almost. Like you can say a whole lot of stuff behind a keyboard that you wouldn't typically say. People are so living perceptively.
That's where I would say like it's important. This is like that would be part of the kind of the foundations you need to learn is that you need to learn that how people are going to receive certain things. This is like basic stuff, right? That if you succeed and then you're sharing success. First of all, there's different ways you can share success. Maybe you share success in the wrong way. Maybe you get this really expensive vacation and then you're sharing it, and people just are perceiving it as you just showing off. And then there's like a whole learning process. Unfortunately, like anytime you are engaging in anything social, where you're posting something or you're sending emails or whatever, there's kind of what you think, and then there's what other people perceive, and those aren't always the same thing. In fact, very often they're like two totally different things. And so when you can get to a point where you can post something on social media and have people actually receive it in the way that you were intending, I think that's actually a pretty high level. That's very difficult to get to. And if you're writing stuff with AI, you'll never get to that point. You'll never like figure out, I don't know, who you are like truly as a person. Like the only way to discover yourself, I think, is to just get really, really far in something, like anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the essence of the message today is just try to be more human.
I would say it's try to get really good at something and like yourself without using, like, you can use AI. AI is a tool. AI is potentially good at, maybe if you want to write something on Facebook, for something for Facebook, you can have it evaluate like your grammar and sentence structure, but you probably shouldn't. I fear what's happening is, yeah, people are never discovering themselves to begin with. And then if you're now just using AI to write everything and kind of do all of your thinking for you, not only are you not discovering yourself, but now you're just like a caricature of yourself. Like you're not like a real person. And so then I think this is where, again, most people, if you're just going through Facebook and just looking at the stories that people are posting, since ChatGPT since it became a thing, like before it used to just be photos of people doing things and sharing a quick little update and something like that. And now it's like, I don't know, half the posts I see are these like inspirational stories that are clearly written by ChatGPT with they're just, I don't know, just the opposite of authentic. And I think even if people can't like virtually discern, like you were saying how your wife can't see the difference between like an AI generated thing, which like, to be fair, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of tricky to see whether or not tricky to discern if it's real or AI. I do think you can kind of feel it. And like in the same way that if you're looking at someone, I mentioned, I won't get into politics, but like there's certain politicians where you can kind of look at their face and you can just see like they're not good people. You can feel it, like they're not authentic people. Even if you're not able to exactly pinpoint like what is it, in business you start developing like a gut instinct for things, and that gut instinct is just the byproduct of you having been in similar situations, hundreds or thousands of times, and then you start to, you'll be in a meeting with someone and you'll be able to, within the first couple of minutes, be able to say, this person is like full of shit. You won't be able to exactly pinpoint why it is that you feel that way, but you have a gut instinct. And so I think much in the same way, you'll scroll through social media and kind of feel the sort of similar things. And so first thing you want to do is try to figure out who you are, which is hidden under years and years and years of society kind of just putting its stuff on you. And the best way to figure out who you are is to get really good at something to the point where you can just exist freely within that thing, whatever it is, even if it's like being a mother, like it can literally be anything. And then from there, I think once you've discovered yourself, then figuring out how to align how you project yourself to the world with how people are perceiving you is kind of the next step.
It makes a lot of sense. This has been a deep conversation today, and I've really enjoyed it, man. I know we try to keep a lot of these interviews short. I have a lot of other questions, but I'm going to find another reason for us to get back on and keep chatting through them. What do you think is the number one way that people could partner with you, man? We've got a lot of listeners here that would love to support your growth. What can we do to help you grow?
Thanks, man. Yeah. You can find me on Facebook. I'm facebook.com/I'm Nelson Quest. My last name is actually Quest. I got it legally changed a couple years ago. Your actual last name is actually pretty rare too. Like pretty, like non.
Yeah. Wise. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always asked you if it's my stage name. No, it's not my stage name. It's my birth name. Like, yeah. All right, man. We'll make sure that we link up the ways that people can connect with you. I appreciate you spending some time with me today. I know you're busy. This was awesome. It was really, like I said, it was very deep, very interesting conversation. And I think the one that's very necessary. The world is headed towards a very interesting place. And I think people, especially those people that are in business, you've got to be careful about how you present yourself and how you carry yourself. But I think also you should just, like kind of what you were saying near the end, is like you should care. You should kind of like rediscover who you really are. Shed the linings of what the world's placed on you and kind of reconnect with who you really are. That's the thing. That's the person that people really want to connect with. And so this was awesome. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah. And I think key there is, just like be uncomfortable in the right ways. So, cause like everything about the current environment is just makes you feel comfy. Like even just asking ChatGPT to kind of like do your thinking for you now is the ultimate like creature comfort. And so, but that it's like, you should feel instinctively that there's something wrong if ChatGPT is like writing something that you're meaning to, if you're having to tell ChatGPT be more human or like write this in a way that sounds more authentic, you should know that there's like something really horribly wrong there. So yeah, anyway.
100%. No, I love it, man. I appreciate it a ton. Thanks again. And thank you all for continuing to listen to the Partner Profit Podcast. It's been a fascinating conversation. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.